Hey, and happy today. Kate here on Be Alive. Man, it is a beautiful day to be alive. And that is one idea that I bring to you over and over and over. And for as long as I have this podcast, I will always be talking about the power of aliveness and what a balancing, grounding, and presence-inducing idea this is of just noticing our aliveness. So when the world gets crazy and things just seem like they're out of control, or you have a lot of challenge in your life and you're like, everything is going wrong, come back to this base layer of like, I'm alive. I have the privilege of being alive right now. And for all we know, death could be 1,000 times better. It could be truly heaven and prancing through with puppies and horses and unicorns and cotton candy clouds. But what I do know is that life is also pretty wild and pretty wonderful. And there's so much magic here, even amidst the pain, even amidst the challenge. And so when you feel overwhelmed, come back to the beauty of having breath in your chest. Come back to the beauty of feeling your heartbeat. Come back to the beauty of those little things in life that just warm your soul, whether it be the way that your friend's eyes crinkle up when they smile, or the smell of fresh bread, or kissing your dog, or a walk and having leaves crunch beneath your feet, or the texture of your favorite t-shirt on your skin. These small, simple joys are nothing but simple. These small, simple joys are not simple. These are the true ecstatic joy of being alive. And it includes the full range of emotions. So I really don't like to classify good emotions and bad emotions. I really believe that even when I'm experiencing pain, that is this like peak emotion that I get the privilege to experience as part of being the full spectrum of being alive, from bliss to joy, to apathy, to pain and anguish. It's like, wow, it is truly a wild and wonderful gift. And so when I wake up in the morning and I blink my eyes open and I literally say, oh, wow, I got the privilege to live another day, even when things are shitty. Even especially when things are shitty, it's like I get the privilege to live another day, and my eyes get to drink in beautiful colors and shapes and people and just the wonder of being alive. So if you're into that kind of stuff, then you've come to the right place. Right now, we're going to dive into today's episode, which features Ege Riitsalu, who is a very special Estonian coach who I met. We were both speaking at the conference in Oxford that I spoke at over the summer. And man, she knocked my socks off with this really cool workshop that she did. So I knew I had to have her on the show. And it turns out that I'm now doing this 3-part series on the F word. No, not that F word. The F word of forgiveness. Last week we had Sav Power, who shared their heart-wrenching, shocking, and ultimately triumphant story of cyberstalking when they were cyberstalked for many years, and how that has culminated in their life today. Today we have Ege Riitsalu, who had a just horrendous tragedy occur in her childhood, and how she held on to that for years and years and years until she eventually became a mother and had to process that in a new way. And next week, I will be sharing a profound experience of forgiveness that I went through in my own life a few years ago, and I'll be sharing a meditation. So if you are totally against the idea of forgiveness, don't click away. Ege today in the interview, she says that when she sends out emails, she's a forgiveness coach. And so when she sends out emails with the F word, forgiveness, in the title, that her open rates go so much lower than when she uses other words. So I get some people are just not into it, but I know that the people who are meant to hear these messages will stick around and listen, because forgiveness, and even if you don't want to call it forgiveness, maybe you just want to call it releasing resentment, it's ultimately for ourselves. It's ultimately for ourselves, because when we walk around this life, this earth, with a hardened heart, we're essentially poisoning ourselves when we carry that resentment, when we carry that anger and those negative emotions. It ultimately is a shadow upon our own light. So my hope is that something in these episodes speaks to you, that you are willing to maybe look at the F word in a new way. And I encourage you that if you have thought about forgiveness in the past, whether it be forgiving someone in your life, forgiving an event, or even forgiving yourself for something, and it has just been like, nope, not ready, that's not for me, I encourage you to go in with an open mind and just consider it again, because I think that forgiveness is something that we need to come back to in our life over and over and over, because we change, time changes us, and time changes our mindset on certain things. And what might have seemed like the craziest, most horrendous idea some years ago, maybe now you have a new outlook and you might be more ready for some aspect or thread of forgiveness that maybe you weren't in the past. So Ege lives on this very distant island in Estonia. So there could be some issues with the internet. She's literally in the middle of nowhere coming at ya. So please forgive any of that. My editor, Risco, is doing his very best to make it as clean and seamless for you as possible. Shout out to you, Risco. I love you. Thank you for editing this show and making it amazing for everyone to hear. Without further ado, I present to you Ege Riitsalu. Put your hand on your heart, look up at the sky, smile and say, hey, I'm alive. Thanks for being alive with me today. Welcome to the show, Ege.
Hello. Greetings from Estonia, so from the other side of the world.
Wow. And so you don't just live in normal Estonia, right? Where do you live? Tell us how you got to this island and this incredible building that you're in. It doesn't look like a normal house.
Oh yes, it's a very, very special place. So as I said, I'm from Estonia. It's a very special, very small in Northern Europe. And we decided when COVID things started to move to our summer house, which is located in a very, very beautiful paradise island called Hiiumaa. So we are basically in the middle of the island of a forest. And I welcome you from this house that my husband built. So I can do my therapy work here, special events and groups. So it's a very, very special life we are living here. And
well, you had me at Paradise Island. I'm already buying my plane ticket to come visit you on Paradise Island. So COVID, you moved to your summer house, your husband built a teepee. And what is life like on this island? Are there a lot of stores and shops, or is it more rural?
Quite a small community, ups and downs. But the mindset here is different. You know, in a smaller island, you're more nature, and we winters here and dark times. So the people here stick more together. They take care of each other more. And it's like really, really amazing. So when you, for example, drive and something happens to your car, stop. So nobody will pass you just by if you are in even, there is like this going round so they can go to school and people to work. And I have this lovely experience that when like a different, when the bus driver stopped and said, "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" It's amazing. And
wow.
But of course, different than in the city. So here is completely quiet. So there is no artificial lights. There are no artificial sounds, but it means it can be. And for me, at first it was a bit frightening, but now the darkness in in a way opens up, and it's actually something really amazing to experience yourself, because mostly people don't even have nowadays. And then it's complete paradise. There are beautiful beaches, beautiful nature, not so many people, so it's ideal. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So it is a very quiet, slow, dark
It's very,
environment.
yes.
And does it last many months of this?
Basically, it's half and half. So we are starting from the end of October and in the end of March. So it's quite a long time. And usually the part it's a bit difficult because there's not so much light and sun. It's all over the Estonia, but as we don't have artificial lights here, so in a way it's amazing.
How do you maintain your mental health during those long months of darkness and winter? I know in the United States, there's a lot of places in the Northeast, like for example, or rather the Northeast and the Northwest, like Washington and Seattle, for example, where it rains most of the year. It's cloudy. They only have a few days of sunshine. And some people will purchase daylight lamps because they get something that I'm sure you're aware of called seasonal affective disorder, where with the lack of sunlight. So I'm just curious, it sounds like you've really leaned into the beautiful rhythms of the seasons there, but do you face any challenges, and how have you moved through that?
Of course, it's challenging, and also my daughters. It's okay until the end of the year, then it's creation, but beginning of the year challenging. So you really need to be aware. You need to be aware to take your vitamins, stay in contact with people, to do things. So for me, it's working out and definitely coming together. Also the lamps and many people go to vacations like in Africa or somewhere where there is sun. Everybody cannot do it. So easy to get depressed and too tired during the spring. What I try to do is in this together with groups to do different things, and also retreats are mostly during the time when it's more dark. So come together, things to sauna. Sauna is something very. You have a sauna culture in America.
Not like Estonia.
It's an important part of the culture, and when it's the cold time, especially the sauna evenings get very important because, of course, if you're home, you get home. And even I see it in the sauna evening is like sacred. So there's basically no point doing an event during the evening if it doesn't include a sauna, because it's sauna evening.
So the sauna is your nightclub. I see. Yeah, I just want to just outline the extremity of what you're living in. You're living in, this place that is very beautiful during part of the year, but then part of the year has a lot of beauty, but also challenge in it. And also, you're on an island, which for many people, even just being on an island, even people who live in Hawaii, for example, get island fever, right? Being disconnected and having a small area of land. So you have the darkness, you have the island, and I just love that you are very intentional about, okay, I understand that January through March is the most challenging time. So during that time, you're very intentional about building this lifestyle that supports your mental health so that you don't slip into depression. Like it sounds like it is very easy to do. And you also, Eke, being a leader, it sounds like you're fostering community for others so that you can host events here in this teepee and bring people in and create that connection for people to support others in the community, which you said is the nature of that community. I mean, the idea of in America, in most cities, having your car stopped on the side of the road and having someone stop immediately is just, would be so unusual and so beautiful.
It is. Yeah. So like this, a network here, which you cannot see, works. So if you need things, you ask, and then things will move. It's amazing. Yeah. So this is the plus side.
It was such a pleasure to meet you in Oxford. And I met Eke because Eke led a beautiful workshop there where we had an experience that you led that we were able to step into some of our most challenging ideas and emotions and really try those on. And you led us through this very unexpectedly beautiful experience. And I'm very curious about your work in forgiveness. So can you just give us an overview of how you got into this transpersonal area of working with forgiveness, working with spirituality? Were you always like this, or did you have a turning point in your life?
I think both. So I've always been a very sensitive child, and me childhood in a way was difficult because stimulated a lot because I just give so much information, and at the time that other people don't and I remember I could always kind of weird in my head and say something to your mother, the mother will freak out. And I little bit didn't know what was happening. This very oversensitive part in me. I think if you do therapy work and if you are aware of it, but if you are not, then challenge. Of course, there was a turning point in my life, which was painful. So today, I wish that people could make change. It gets really, really very painful, but most of the time, it is kind of a turning point. And then more than 10 years ago, and at that time, I had no idea about like therapy, psychology. I was a young mother struggling with my kids, completely exhausted, and it was very difficult. My health went really very. I was with children. It was very, very hard, and then I remember making a decision that no matter what, my life in order. It was like very, very that I need to come out of this rabbit hole that I'm in. And then I started to look, but I didn't find the right people. I even got experiences, which was because then I had extra things to get over. But first, it was Reiki for me. I still practice Reiki. The first set of energy back, the kind of life force started to come back. I was able to look for more help. And I remember I found my therapist, an amazing woman, great friend of mine now. Saw her waiting for me in a corridor. At the moment, I felt like everything will just fine. And the experiences I had in therapy were so amazing, so powerful. And I had this knowing that where I need to be and I want to know more and I want to facilitate this part of healing which I received that I would like to offer. She guided me to therapy school in a transpersonal psychotherapy and hypnosis. And from there, it was a year. So we had very, very intense training. And I remember we had a lecturer called Oliver Clerc, forgiveness. At that moment, I remember it was like in my head, like, this is what I need. So this is what I need. Anyone thinking about forgiveness. And very disappointed at the same time. But I knew immediately that this is something that I will start to work with. It was really amazing. I know that Oliver Kurt, and he did the Circle of Forgiveness as well. It's a really, really beautiful. I also facilitate. That some felt that there is like some was missing for me in the larger picture, and then this came to me, and it came in a very way that time has a foreign ethical forgiveness workshop in Estonia, and my brother went there. My brother was completely lost, and after the workshop, he came back to life, and for me, so it began this journey. So a long talk.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that gorgeous story. You were a young mother with, is it 2 daughters?
2 daughters, yes.
And you felt overwhelmed, you felt alone, you felt lost. You had, it sounds like a burden on your shoulders of maybe anger and resentment, right? If you had a forgiveness journey, typically that means that we have anger and resentment. And, I can say from my own experience that I've gone through experiences with deep victimhood, feeling like the world is happening to me and it's everyone else's fault and except for my own. And then you made this decision. You just decided, I am going to some way, somehow get better. And then you just began this seeking, it sounds like. And one of the first things that you found in the seeking was Reiki. And then you just kept following this golden thread of, okay, Reiki's interesting. And then I'm going to go to therapy. And then you met Maria, who's this figure in your life who was definitely a healing figure. And then you kept following the golden thread. And your brother had this experience with radical forgiveness. And when you found that, you really found a gold mine. And you not only, it sounds like, had your own forgiveness journey, but are now facilitating that for other people.
Yes. I realized later what happened to me with my children is that I had my own very painful story when I was very young, but I had to put it on the side or just push it in because I was a child. I didn't know what to do with it. And when my children got to the same age, came up really, really intense and unbearable for me. All of the childhood trauma kind of surfaced after having children, and it was really hard to be alone with that. So this is also what really inspires me or motivates me, just to share these experiences, because maybe someone else is struggling with the same thing and doesn't know what to do, and maybe he or she can hear something. It will help. So this is really important for me.
What age was that age that you had the experience and then your daughters had the experience?
So first it was age of 3, and then it was age of 5. And
wow.
when they are 3 and 5, because they are 2 years apart, then it was like really crazy. But then I was already this was the time when I went to the therapy school. So I already received support, but it was really, really triggering. And I still kind of make fun with it. It's like the children have a remote of mother, and then they're like pushing all the buttons, like, pain here and pain there, and let's put them together like this.
That is the best. That is the best metaphor I've ever heard about that. And that happens in all of our relationships, but especially other, but I understand. I have some understanding, right? Like, our partners push our buttons, our parents push our buttons.
Exactly. It's like, how do they know? Like, to say the most painful thing. I'm always like, how is it possible? But so it is. And there's no escape from family. So, yeah, it just makes me want to grow even more, if this is the right way to say it. Yeah.
You mentioned that this forgiveness journey really started for you in a various way. On one hand, your intuition is telling you, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm seeing a light here. This is totally what I need to be doing. And then you said that another side of you was painful, it was scary. So can you take us through what that was like? Proceeding through something that is on one hand very beautiful and it's resonating with your soul, and on the other hand is like, please, I want to run away. This is horrible.
Yes. So I remember when we started a forgiveness training and we did the ceremonies. I remember that this grief inside of me woke up. My father was murdered when I was 5 years old, and all of this ungrieved grief surfaced. And it was really very intense because I had carried it for like 25 years and then I needed to work through it. I remember what really supported was actually the therapy school itself, the community, and that we got together every month, sometimes even every week. So I just continued with the work. But I remember also in therapy school, I cried for the first 2 years. So it is a really long time. 2 years is a long time to cry. And the 2 years is a very long time to be in pain. And but some people are pain in most of their lives, right? So of course I cried a lot because I got triggered a lot, because we learned a lot in therapy school. We went through all kind of different processes, and but I remember the turning point was when a friend of mine in my school, Helen, came to me and said, you know, Ege, it's so beautiful to look at you that you're not crying anymore all the time.
Mm.
And then I was like, wow, something has shifted. At that I realized I'm really not crying. I'm actually laughing. And I realized that I came back. I came back, and at that moment everything shifted, and I could be there from that point to other people to support them, because before that I needed this healing and support myself a lot. So it was a game changer. And but there were other things, of course, that came up in the forgiveness workshops, and they still do. But I'm in a different place. I had a constellation therapy yesterday where I was a client. I still continue with the personal work, so I could go deeper and deeper to offer more support to other people as well. And and when I was in the radical forgiveness training, also there were other layers, even more deeper and deeper, when we actually reached the soul level at one moment, and it was so healing. And I know that it's very interesting, this forgiveness topic. I've researched it. I'm in a way like finding my ways how to communicate it, and people don't actually want to hear about it, which is really very interesting. And there are like all these different things or fears around forgiveness, and it seems very hard, and people mix it together with all sorts of different things. So it has really been a journey. And sometimes I even see in my email list, when in the front there is, when the heading there is forgiveness, then people won't open the email, which is really interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, because so many people are actually in such a need of this journey, but I think there is fear here, or just lack of information, maybe. Yeah. So, but
Wow.
this I can bring more and more.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and you've gone through it yourself. And you said something so beautiful. You said, "Oh, I'd for 2 years," but many people will cry their whole lives. And so
Yeah.
it's almost as if you went through it deeply, intensely, and you almost had to trade that 2 years of deep, intense, guttural sadness and agony and grief but you traded those 2 years of crying for the life of what you lead now, which is having mostly relieved that burden from your shoulders. And so people who are holding on to anger and holding on to grief and holding on to trauma. And in a second, I'm going to ask you, why is anger so comfortable? Like, why do we want to hold on to it so much? But we do. And I've done it 100%, but we hold on to it and it stretches out into a lifetime of discomfort where if we were willing to just move through it and experience that deep pain, and yes, it is scary. We're trading a year, 6 months, even 2 years of just deep, intense work for a lifetime of freedom. So I'm curious, why do you think people are willing to trade a lifetime of discomfort, of medium discomfort, for a shorter period of high discomfort? Because that's what we're trading. Like, we're at a medium discomfort of anger and victimhood, and we don't want to trade it to go 10 steps into high discomfort to then lead the rest of our lives with freedom. So why do you think that is?
I think here are many layers, and I will bring in the subject of my grandparents. I was living together with my grandparents after the accident, and I remember there were people from wartime, and they had such deep things inside of them that never got healed, and they actually died with them. And I remember as a child, I already made the decision that I will not live my life like that. And so it's also like the inspiration part in me. But at that time, I know that just people didn't know any better. They didn't know what to do with it. And in a way today, I guess we can be in the other extreme, where there is so much talk about mental health, especially after COVID, that it can feel too much for people, and they kind of don't want to do anything with it. But I think there is this self-righteousness, maybe, that I am right, you are wrong. This self-righteousness is like really, it's a really delicate thing, but it's there. And the need to condemn. So this is why sometimes this forgiveness, as we know it, because radical forgiveness is a little bit different, kind of gets stuck, because there are like two opposite poles. So at one hand, I want to forgive. I feel it. But at the other hand, I have this impulse inside of me to condemn everybody or someone. And it's like 50-50, and it kind of gets stuck there. Also, I think survival mode. It was survival mode for me for a long time. That, yes, I don't feel good, but I'm so used to this way of living, and I'm still going like back and back, because I know this kind of life. So some people really need a very painful experience to make the shift. And if it's not painful enough, this of course makes me sad, but if it's not painful enough, people I see won't make the changes. They won't start to look for answers or look for solutions. They just want to have a quick fix, or maybe an aspirin or a Bandit, and just move on.
Wow. Man, I've never really thought so deeply. When you said that you have experienced people of older generations who are from wartime, and that you watch them with this pain and with this need to condemn and this lack of forgiveness, and they died with it, I had tears come to my eyes when you said that. And then you compared that so beautifully to now. It is quite different, but there's almost this overwhelm of focus on mental health, where people don't know which path to go down with mental health. And again, this need to condemn. I think a lot about self-worth in my work. I think
from where do we get our self-worth is a question that we need to ask ourselves over and over in our lives, because it's like hollow self-worth is insidious. It's like, do we get it from cars? Do we get it from money? Do we get it from a certain social stature? Do we get it from condemning others in politics or in trauma? And I just feel like it's always throughout life, our self-worth is just begging us to come from these hollow places. And it feels good to condemn people. And I don't know how it is in Estonia, America. There's so much condemning going on in politics. Like, you're wrong and you're so, and I'm right. And I condemn your viewpoint and I condemn you and I condemn this whole half of the population who believes different things. And why do we condemn? We condemn because it makes us feel better. And there's a certain element of it feeling good to feel angry. And I just wonder where we can get our self-worth from. Like in my work, I really try to focus on getting my self-worth from intrinsic sources, like knowing I'm a valuable person, regardless of what my political views are, or regardless of how much money I make. But do you connect this element of struggle with forgiveness to maybe misplaced self-worth at all?
Yes, definitely. It's my own experience. And, what I have discovered is that, of course, the victim term comes into it. Like if something bad has happened to me or something has done something to me, then I feel a victim, right? And I want to come out of here. But the person who has done harm is also the victim, because it's the same pain story there. And for me, I have been both. And I think most people have been both, because we're just human, we make mistakes. And also I think we all need the release of forgiveness, but it's a human right to also feel and receive forgiveness, that we are forgiven because we have made a mistake. And for me, I felt really, really very guilty as a mother, because after this childhood trauma, I think I had this impulse of creating my own family quite quick, and then everything will be okay. But it was such an illusion, because actually with my own family, all of the trauma and fears kind of stepped up. And when I went to therapy school and I studied in depth how important are the first years of a child to their overall life, and then I was like, oh my God, I have screwed my children up. And because I was in such a dark place, my health got broken, and there was such tremendous guilt, like tremendous guilt and shame. And if you feel you have done harm, and you feel guilt and you feel shame, what kind of self-worth are we talking about here? I'm like a bad person. I really thought I was like a bad person. And it took tremendous work to actually come out of that place, and to also forgive myself for having done harm. And then the self-worth started to come back. So for me, I see it's really very connected. And of course, on the other side, when you have received harm, maybe somebody has overstepped your boundaries, misused you, abused you, then there is also this shame, and you're like polluted or something. And then this the way you experience or see yourself gets unclean. And yes, the self-worth part is really very there. And I'm so glad you brought this thing up, because I feel it has also been the driving force in this work for me. Maybe I just haven't said it out like you did. So I'm really grateful for that.
Well, you've just brought up so many beautiful questions that we can ask ourselves. And so if people are listening and wondering what is your next journal prompt, I think we can ask ourselves, and I will absolutely do this, is my refusal to forgive myself affecting my self-worth and preventing me from growing? So ask yourself, am I withholding forgiveness from myself? And then another question, ask ourselves, and thanks to you, Eke, for just bringing this so beautifully together, is, am I condemning others as a way to feel better about myself?
Mm.
And if so, why do I need my self-worth to come from condemning others? I think that's an important question. And you've just brought up so many different, I mean, you're the expert in forgiveness, and it's really like I don't know how you visualize it, but it's just like forgiveness is this multifaceted diamond, and there's so many different areas. It's not like, oh, forgiveness, and it's this one single path journey. It's like forgiving ourselves, forgiving others. There's humility involved. There's releasing anger involved. It's just, it's not an overnight thing. And you've just been on this radiant journey. You lead others through it for many years now.
Yes. And I always must say that it is a journey, and it might be a short journey. It can be a journey that will last a longer time. And the thing is with forgiveness is that you cannot cheat with it. You can reach it. It can happen. And this is what I always say to people. I just wish you know it's possible and that you're moving to that direction. And one moment it can happen. But it's like a door you can open, but maybe there are other doors or the sides of the diamond, as I said, which need to be open first. So maybe you need to release emotions, have therapy, maybe express anger or other emotions, cry. Maybe you need to work with your body or some health things that are coming up. Maybe you need to have those conversations if you have the possibility to having them. So I've had my conversation with my father's spirit. So, but it has also been healing. And you cannot cheat with it. And what I also have witnessed and experienced myself is, in a way, this idea of forgiveness can also be tormenting. You know, like, I want to forgive. I must forgive. I'm a good person.
Wow.
But if I don't feel it, like really, then I just cannot mentally decide it. It's not real. It can be fake. So there is a danger here that you just put the lid on and you actually don't do the work that needs to be done. And it's messy work. It can be messy work.
So are you saying then that if someone is holding victimhood, anger, resentment, and cognitively they want to forgive, whether because they think, again, it's associated with self-worth, like I'm a good person, I'm not a person that holds on to anger, and so they cognitively want to forgive. Are you saying that for some people, perhaps it's not the right time and that they should maybe wait until it's more genuine, or are you saying that there needs to be work to really move through the forgiveness in a genuine way to avoid this false forgiveness where we're just doing it because either we want to be fixed, we want to be healed, or we think that we're a bad person if we hold on to resentment? So could it be the wrong time to forgive, or is it just that it's not the right work being done?
So yeah, it's like a journey. So maybe some things, like, you would maybe express some feelings or anger, and then you already feel like there's something that everything is done and I don't feel anything anymore. But sometimes it takes more work. But it will kind of show up anyway. If the life will mirror it back, whether you have reached it or there's still kind of levels to discover or over there or different angles. So it will come up anyway. But maybe I can tell a story here.
Oh, please.
In Oxford, I remember it was so amazing. I think it was the last day, and we were in the queue in the ladies' room. And then there was this very fabulous woman that came to me and, oh yeah, you made the forgiveness workshop. I really wanted to come, but then I thought, I don't want to forgive those people. So I didn't come. I was like, okay. Of course, it's a choice, right? But he was like, I don't want to forgive them. Like, why should I forgive them? And we made fun of it. But then I really actually thought about it later on. Like, but this is how we're living, right? But if it doesn't bother you, okay, it's okay. But actually, is it so that some things are not bothering you? So I would always aim for forgiveness. Maybe every people won't. Maybe some people just mean healing or use another word, because you pay a price if you hold on to the things you said before, like the anger, self-righteousness, condemn. There is a price there, because there is no peace of mind, freedom, happiness, or love when you experience these things. You cannot be at states of mind at the same time. You're either resentful or you're peaceful or happy. So there is always a price there.
Yeah, I always like to think about our energy as our currency, right? We have a certain amount of energy in our life. And I spent a couple of years of my life putting all my energy towards trying not to die when I was in a state of deep death anxiety, where all I could think about was that I could die at any moment, and I was afraid of dying, and I was trying to prevent not dying. But then when I realized that energy, I was putting all of my energy towards that, and there wasn't any energy left for living. And so you bring up this beautiful point of, if we are holding on to resentment and not wanting to forgive, there's a certain amount of energy going towards that, and that our energy is finite, and then it is therefore taking away energy from other places, whether that be peace or joy.
When in my workshop we made a bridge between forgiveness and happiness. Sometimes the bridge there is actually releasing the anger or allowing the anger in the first place. This can already be such a game changer. And there are very healthy ways to work with anger, to release it. For example, I went boxing. I did it for like 2 or 3 months, and I really put my anger there, like Thai boxing. And I remember we were like ladies and men together, and no woman wanted to box with me.
Wow.
Oh my God, this girl is like crazy. They were like, you're such a sweet woman, but why are you so angry?
Oh my gosh.
And then I was like, if I cannot be angry boxing, then where can I be angry? And after that, most of the intensity went away. And it was training, so I actually benefited in many ways from it. And after that, there was no need to continue with that, for example.
Well, and you bring up a great point about different modalities of therapy and healing at different points in our life. At that time, you needed boxing. And now you do forgiveness work. You're a facilitator and a leader doing forgiveness work. But I also saw that you do flower therapy, and I don't know what flower therapy is. So years ago, when you're processing your anger, you did boxing, and now you're in flower therapy. So can you help us understand what that looks like?
Oh, it's, for example, I have one here. It's really amazing. I don't know if it shows in my camera. There are like this bottle. So this one is for insecurity. So it's in my purse. And flower therapy, it's really very amazing. It's nature in my pocket. So I'm living in nature, but when I was more in the city, I needed them even more than I realized that I need them now. But I do use them in my therapy work. So flower therapy has come from homeopathy. So it's like the one side of homeopathy. And it's really a very beautiful and pure way to heal. Every bottle has one kind of a flower or herb. And the message is there that every herb connects to a frequency inside of you. And if it's like shame or guilt or anger or sadness, etc., it can work with this kind of vibrancy inside of you, which has been stuck. And it's nature. If you go have a walk in the forest, you will feel better, right? It has the same effect. It kind of balances and stabilizes something inside of the energy system. And the beautiful part is that you can use them separately. You can use them together with other therapies. I mostly, if I have sessions, then I will make a mix of different herbs that will just suit the person at that moment. And there have been very nice companions with me, which I really, really recommend because they're easy to use and they work really very well. So I hope I have answered your question.
Oh, yes. Here in the US, we call them essential oils, but I am going to start a petition to rename essential oils in the US to flower therapy because that just sounds so beautiful. And it's so much more accurate. I mean, really, essential oils are connecting with nature anytime, anywhere, in our pocket, in our purse. And when we're sitting at our desk in our office, inside, we can take out our flower in a bottle and smell it. And it's essentially nature therapy is what you're saying. And I've never really thought about essential oils as nature therapy or flower therapy, but that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, they are a bit different. I have essential oil here, and then there is flower therapy. They're a bit different.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, essential oils you will put on your skin, right? But the flower therapy, you will actually take it in. You will drink it, the drops with water, or put it under your tongue. So they are a bit different. And what I use mostly is Bach flower therapy. So it's made in England. So I don't make them myself, but I mix them together. And there are 38 different ones in that Bach ones. And it means it's like with the 38 different herbs, you will find a herb for any situation in life. They're all there. So it's a very, very, very good kit to have at home. I really recommend.
Wow. So you're consuming it. You know, I've never heard of this in the US. I feel like you should start an Etsy shop and sell these to Americans and you'll make a fortune. But I just love this idea of eating flowers when I'm stressed. Like, who doesn't want to be like, I'm stressed. Oh, let me take a flower for that.
Yeah. And but it works and it sounds so beautiful, doesn't it?
It sounds so beautiful. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I also love that you and I were so in sync today that we're both wearing yellow t-shirts. Yeah. It's so great. Man, so what you've just been shared so much wisdom today. And thank you for honestly sharing your journey and everything that you've been through. You've really opened my eyes to so many things today, just in terms of the way that we process trauma, about forgiveness. You know, I hadn't really thought about until you brought it up today, this notion of, you know, I don't have children. And so, you know, I had my awakening when I was around 28 years old. You had your awakening when you already had 2 children.
Yes.
And the challenge and the beauty that comes with that. On one hand, being grateful that you had the awakening when they were young, but on the other hand, feeling so much guilt of being asleep or trapped in guilt and anger during the early years of their lives. And I thank you for sharing that. And for people who are listening that have experienced that guilt and that shame of having the before years and the after years of kids, what advice do you have for them for processing any of that guilt or shame?
The main message for me is always that there is a way out, and there is no need to be so harsh, and there is no need to choose suffering, because the choice of love is always there as well. So in a way, I know you can be stuck there, and I really recommend doing some kind of healing practice or healing work with it. It will help. You just need to find the right person for you or the right program for you, and just to always remind yourself that the choice of peace and love is also there. It's possible. You can shift. You can make a choice, because the suffering is also a choice. But I do understand, because I remember in my own story that it was just so unreachable. I just couldn't reach. And I was always in this question, like, why? Why did it happen to me? Why am I feeling like this? How long will it last? But then I just continued. And today we have amazing resources. We have books, we have amazing podcasts, we have therapists. I really very recommend to just start from somewhere and to start doing something to express the tension in you, and also to receive support. So the main thing is not to stay alone with it. I think one of the most dangerous place to be. It was the same with me when I felt I was alone with that, because everybody feels alone when they have a problem, but you just need to reach out. I'm sure there is somebody there who will be there for you, and if there's not at that moment, then if you ask for it from a higher source, I'm sure a person or some kind of solution will come if you open yourself up for it. Yes.
That was so beautiful. That was so beautiful. Such a gorgeous message. Where can people find you if they'd like to get in contact with you or work with you or find out more about your programs?
Yes, you're very welcome to write to me. I have my homepage, egeriitsalu.com. Ege Riitsalu Therapy is in Instagram and in Facebook. So I post both. I do my things most in English and in Estonian as well. So both languages are usually there. Yes. So,
wonderful. And I would just like to, just in return for the, like I said, beautiful wisdom that you shared today, I'd like to invite everyone listening to give a small gift to you, which is to send you some extra love, especially during the months of January to March this year. And just know, if you're listening, that when you send love to Eke, your love is multiplied, because you're such a leader and you're propping up the other people in your community. So when we send love to you, Eke, during this challenging time of January through March, it's then multiplied through you and multiplied through other people. And that's true. So if you're listening right now, just think about Eke and her community in the dark times in Estonia in January through March, and send a little bit of extra love to you and have it be amplified out. And I can't thank you enough for doing the work that you do, Eke, and for coming and sharing such just beautiful stories and lessons with us today.
Thank you, Kate. It's amazing. And I'm really grateful that you came to the workshop in Oxford. So we got to meet, and I'm really happy for that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Beautiful.
Thank you for tuning in to Be Alive with Kate Manser. It's an honor. Thank you. Like, subscribe, share, Share this episode with somebody who needs a little dose of inspiration in their life. Definitely review the show on whatever platform you're listening to. And you can always check out katemanser.com for my up-to-date coaching offerings and other goodies. Check out my book, You Might Die Tomorrow, my workbook, The Alive Workbook. I have a children's book called You Are the Cyan Ocean. All the things. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. It is truly, seriously, genuinely an honor to spend time with you and to have the honor of being in your ears and your eyes. Take care. Lots of love.